The entrepreneur and investor Anthony Pompliano has lived an extraordinary life, and so have I, but this video is not about me. It's about his book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life. The book is made up of 65 letters to his children, where he offers his best advice on how to succeed in business, advance in your career, invest in the stock market, invest in quality relationships, invest in yourself. He covers a lot of ground, so he offers advice on how to prepare for the future, cultivate deep and meaningful relationships across your life, and basically just how to grow up into a respectable, happy, and fulfilled human being, which is kind of what you want for your children. His wisdom is world class, and I came away with about 4 pages of notes. I've got them all in a Google Doc that you can just have for free. You can find that in the video description and a link to the book, any other books I mentioned in this video, and a link to today's sponsor, which is called Book Genius. More about them a little bit later on in the video. And just for some context on who Anthony Pompliano actually is, he's an investor, entrepreneur, like I said. He's lived in a war zone. He's invested in more than 200 businesses. He started and nurtured a loving family. Then, of course, he's got his podcast and his massive social media audience, and now this book. And it's only like 35, which actually brings me to one of the strong points in this book. These aren't commandments from someone who has everything all figured out. These things are just extremely valuable insights that he's picked up over his extraordinary life so far. So I'm just going to run through a few of my favorites here. And like I said, all my notes are down in the video description too. Starting off super strong, he says, once you decide the type of person you want to be, you can start acting like that person immediately. And I love that because it actually fits in with one of my favorite books of all time. And I have it here actually, just because I was using it for recording another video. And it's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And even after reading 1,400 plus books, it is absolutely one of my favorites so far. The core component of this book is about your self-image and how you can never perform greater than your self-image. It sets the limits of your accomplishments. Like you can never outperform the self-image that you have of yourself. And a critical part of that is deepening the self-image through the actions that you take. And that's what Anthony Pompliano is saying here. He says that, once you decide that person, once you decide on that self-image that you want to build and to cultivate, you have to behave like that person every single day. And you can start behaving that way now. It's not some aspirational thing that you hope to become later. You act like that person now, and then you become that person every single day and across time. I like this one too. He says, carve your ethics in stone, write your opinions in sand. How I like to think about that is that, I have strong opinions, but they're loosely held. Like if somebody comes up with contrary evidence that counteracts something that I already believe, my opinions aren't my identity. Like I'm not super strongly holding on to them. I'm loosely holding on to them. Like if you my mind is open. You want strong opinions, but you don't want to hold on too tightly to them. You want to maintain that sort of malleable mind. Remain open to new information. Like that's learning. Like that's literally the definition of learning, or one of them. Then right here he's got a list. He says the smartest people I know, 1, obsessively read books. I uh, 2, pursue new mental models, enjoy intelligent discourse, quickly admit when they're wrong, are comfortable changing their opinion, surround themselves with intelligence, seek to understand every perspective on a topic. This next one aligns with how I feel about long-term perspectives and really playing the long game, play an infinite game. He says that you can have a competitive advantage in life by having the patience to create high-quality things over long periods of time. Build a great business, achieve your fitness goals, create a happy, loving family. None of these can last unless you apply discipline and patience over many years. There are no shortcuts. Very, very true. And then this one, he says, the willingness to eat glass for a decade and keep showing up with the same level of enthusiasm drastically increases your odds of success. And, I did that for an entire decade. For a good maybe 10, 11, 12 years, I forget exactly. I worked multiple minimum wage security jobs, and one of them was overnight as a hospital security guard. On a busy night, I'd get maybe 6 hours of reading done. On a slow night, I'd read for like 10 hours. And that is where I read the vast majority of the 1,000 or 1,400 plus books that I've read so far. It was at that job, right? And it was unglamorous. It was, not hard work, but there were times when I had to work. I mean, it was an air conditioned, heated building in Canada. Like it wasn't horrible. I wouldn't say that I ate glass at that job, but it certainly took a long time to help me reach the level of success that I have now. So I certainly had to do the same things day in, day out. night in, night out, for a long time, for literally a decade, to read 1,400 books and to build my business that whole time. And, like I said, I wouldn't say I was necessarily eating glass, but I wasn't exactly, having the time of my life either. Actually, that's not exactly true. Sometimes we're actually pretty damn good just reading by myself. Okay, so I like this one too. He says your point of reference in a comparison is incredibly important. Make sure you're focused on the best and how you're going to catch up to them. That is the only way to become the best. You have to beat the best. And you can't beat the best if you're focused on celebrating the fact that you're better than the worst. Now, there's a couple things I have to say about that. What he's talking about here is upward counterfactuals and downward counterfactuals. And I think there's a place for both. What he's saying is that, you want to compare yourself to the best in your industry or what you're pursuing, right? You don't, like, if you're a real estate agent, don't celebrate the fact that you're not the worst real estate agent, right? Compare yourself to the people who are actually doing extremely well in that business and emulate what they're doing to become as successful as they are. But at the same time, I do think that it can inspire quite a bit of gratitude to look down occasionally, like not look down at people that are not doing as well as you, but realize that your life could be an awful lot worse. So I think there's a place for both perspectives, and I absolutely think that he would agree. It's just I wanted to sort of clarify that point. But the main idea here, amazing. Check out the sponsor of today's video, which is called Book Genius. It's a book app that I use every single day to help me remember more of what I read, find and explore new books that I think I might like to read in the future. They've got podcast summaries of thousands of books that you can look up and learn from. And I even host a book club on the app. It's got the same name as my newsletter, and it's called The Reading Life. So join my book club on the Book Genius app and use my link in the video description for 56% off your annual subscription. This one, super important. He says life is all about power laws, relationships, experiences, financial returns. Find the 5% that delivers 95% and ignore the rest. And so you've probably heard of the Pareto principle, and that's basically where 20% of your inputs lead to 80% of your outputs. So say like 20% of the work you do is going to lead to 80% of the results that you experience, and things like that. It's a fairly common idea. You find lots of people talking about it, and it's more or less true. Basically, what he's saying here is that your entire life is like that. There's only a small subset of your relationships that's going to deliver like 95% of the satisfaction that you experience in life. There's only a very small number of investments that you can make, financial or otherwise, that are going to return 95% of what you actually end up with. This next one ties into one of my favorite quotes of all time. And right here, Pompliano says, don't forget to ask people how you can help. It doesn't matter how successful they are. You'll be surprised by what can happen. So one of my favorite quotes of all time, this is one of those things that, I've literally built my entire life around this. It comes from Zig Ziglar. Amazing name. He says that you can basically get anything you want in life just as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And so Pompliano is saying the same thing. You always ask people how you can help, like what you can do for them, how you can make their life better, easier, how you can help them move towards what's important to them. Then an awful lot of that will come right back to you. And as you develop that reputation as the person who is just exceedingly helpful and you don't ask for anything in return, like you're just always looking for ways to, this phrase is kind of overused, but add value, that reputation is going to catch up to you. And as far as reputations go, that's a pretty nice one to have. I love this one right here. He says, surround yourself with winners. Find a few people destined for greatness and sprint to keep up with them. That's my entire reason for building Creator Launch Academy on School. It's the first link in the video description. I've assembled a community of more than 50 educational content creators, and they're all winners. We're constantly sharing tactics and strategies to help us grow our businesses. And so if you're an educational content creator and you want to start earning at least $5,000 a month, click the first link in the video description and surround yourself with winners. Another quote here, it's about time. I think it's incredibly important. He says, it would be nice to have $100 billion, but no one would trade decades of their life for it, especially since you wouldn't have time to enjoy the money. This makes you wealthier than Warren Buffett today. You have more time than him, and time is worth much more than money. So at the time I'm recording this video, Warren Buffett's what, like 95, 92 years old or something like that. Odds are, if you're like 30 something and you asked him to give up his entire fortune to trade lives with you, for you to get all of his billions and for him to get all of your time, that would be an absolutely disastrous deal for you to take. He would come out so much further ahead from that, because even though you'd have all this money, you'd have very little time to enjoy it. So that's the point of this one, and it's just, it hits you with so much force when you realize realize that some of the absolute wealthiest people in the entire world would willingly trade places with you because you have time and they don't. A few more here and I'll wrap this up. This one's incredibly important. He says the best investors in the world are really good at doing nothing for long periods of time. Going back to Warren Buffett, like he's not making a whole lot of moves. Like he's not a day trader. Like he'll buy something and he'll hold that stock for 50 years. Like he'll hold that stock for decades. He's looking for solid fundamentals and he stays in those investments for long periods of time. And in fact, if you look at a chart of Warren Buffett's wealth, he was a millionaire in his 30s, but his wealth grew relatively slowly over the next couple of decades when he became a billionaire when he was almost 60. But now he has more than $100 billion, and most of that wealth, like the vast majority of his wealth, came after his 60th birthday. Like he had already been investing for decades and decades, and he just waited for a long period of time. He did nothing, or next to nothing. Like he waited. That was the most important part of his investing strategy. Two last ones here. Thanks for sticking with me on this. I think this is a great book. I really hope you read it for yourself. And like I said, I took about 4 pages of notes and they're all in the video description. You can just have them for free, by the way. You don't have to enter your email or anything like that unless you want to sign up to my newsletter, which is called The Reading Life. That does require an email address. But here we go. Here are the last 2 quotes. He says, "We have hardware and software. By taking care of our bodies, we're constantly improving our hardware and creating resilience for whatever the world throws at us. At the same time, our software is being updated constantly based on the information we consume, the experiences we endure, and the feedback we receive from the world." And the books that we read, of course. We are training our decision-making algorithm as we live our lives. I think that's incredibly important to keep in mind. Like you're literally rewiring your brain. Even watching this video, you have been rewiring your brain this entire time. I've been rewiring my brain recording it. Like it's always happening. The last quote here, he says, "The process has been time consuming, but if you learn even one thing from these letters, then the effort will have been worth it." But here's the great irony of this book. Even though I thought I wrote it for you, it was me who needed it the most. Writing each letter forced me to think critically about the lessons I've learned. A letter can be written in a sloppy way, or the idea is not transferred from the writer to the reader. Clear writing leads to clear thinking. So whether or not you enjoy writing, make sure you write letters throughout your life. Write a letter to your mom for her birthday and tell her what you most appreciate about our family. Write a letter to your best friend and share some funny stories you hope they'll remember in the years to come. Finally, and most importantly, write a letter to your future self describing your ambitions, hopes, and desires. Letters serve as time capsules for all that you have learned and all that you have yet to learn. Don't waste time. Start today. So that just about does it for my notes. Link to the book down in the video description. Subscribe for more videos, obviously. Thanks for watching this one. And for 10 great books that will help you solve 10 major problems, watch this video right here. Happy reading.
I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah.